Hello, welcome YouTube Nation, brothers and sisters in Christ. Welcome back to my channel, Jesus Wants You. I'm Nikki Pratt. It is February 22nd, 2014, on a Saturday. I wanted to come to you guys today with something a little different, although I think someone somewhere would be blessed with this information. This title of the video today is Faith versus Fear, or in our storms, faith versus fear. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my testimony that kind of goes along with the story, okay? First, I am going to read from Mark, the book of Mark, chapter 4, verses 33 through 41. So if you can, get your Bibles out. And I'm going to be kind of paraphrasing. I'm going to read, but I'm going to kind of be paraphrasing to kind of give you the highlights of the story. But when you get the chance, read it for yourself, okay? Now, if you are in Mark chapter 4, I'm going to read a little bit of chapter 4, verse 1 first, and then I'm going to hop to 33 until 41, okay? Verse 1 of chapter 4 of Mark. And he began again to teach by the seaside, and there was gathered unto him a great multitude, so that he entered into a ship and sat in the sea, and the whole multitude was by the sea on the land. I'm going to read verse 2 as well. And he taught them many things by parables, and said it to them in his doctrine. Verse 33 of chapter 4. And with many such parables spake he the word unto them, as they were able to hear it. Verse 34. But without a parable spake he not unto them. And when they were alone, he expounded all things to his disciples. And the same day, when the even was come, he said unto them, Let us pass over unto the other side. Verse 36. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. And there were also with him other little ships. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat unto the ship, so that it was now full. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him, and said unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? Meaning, don't you care? We are dying. And he arose, verse 39, and rebuked the wind, and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. Verse 40, and he said unto them, Why are ye so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? Verse 41, and they feared exceedingly, and said one to another, What manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? Okay, now I'm going to hop on, before I start paraphrasing, I'm going to hop right on over to the book of Matthew, chapter 14, verses 22 through 33, okay? So if you are in Matthew chapter 14, let's go to verses 22. Wait a minute. Yeah, verses 22 to 33, okay? And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into the ship, and to go before him until the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into the mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. Verse 26, and when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. 27, but straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer. It is I, be not afraid. Verse 28, and Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. Verse 30. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. Verse 31. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand, and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? Verse 32, and when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. Okay? Now, back in Mark, when I read chapter 4, verses 33 through 41, okay, Jesus had been, ministering and teaching and preaching and telling parables of, different parables. And, he went with the disciples in the ship, and he was tired. He had been teaching all day, pretty much, okay? I'm paraphrasing. And while Jesus was asleep, the disciples was fighting the battle of water and wind, and the water got in the boat, and they felt themselves sinking, and they were freaking out, okay? Well, while they doing all that, Jesus was kind of, just laid back, sleep, in the cut, just resting, not worried about a thing, content. But they woke Jesus up and was like, Master, basically, how can you be asleep when all this chaos is going on? Do you not care? And, Jesus tired. He woke up. He was like, cool, calm, and collected. Oh, ye of little faith. Why they had such little faith? Here is Jesus in the boat. Now, they done been with him all day. Jesus is in the boat with them. And he done did, cast out demons, been healing, and doing all kinds of other things. And they're worried and they're concerned about their safety. They're freaking out. Which is exactly what we do in our storms. And like I said, I was paraphrasing, but, I like it, and I'm going to go back to it. When Jesus said, peace, be still. That's all he said. After being asleep, he woke up and he asked them, after saying peace, be still, he asked them, why are you so fearful? And he said, how is it that you have no faith? Now, like I said, here you got Jesus in the boat, and the problem was, and this is so good because you can pull a lot of things from these stories in the Bible, especially on this particular account, and pull from it and relate to a lot of things that we as Christians, knowing we know who Jesus is, knowing all we got to do is call on him in our fears at any given time. But a lot of times we are so caught up in our fears and our situations till we're not really paying attention. Basically, we got our focus off of Jesus. So in our little storm, in our ships, we start sinking. Okay? Now, in the Matthew account, chapter 14, verses 22 to 33, when I was reading, that's when, basically Jesus told the disciples to go ahead of him in the boat, And he did that so he could pray. Okay, he wanted to spend a long time with the Lord and pray, because for Jesus, praying and spending time with God was priority. Okay, which as it should be with us as well. Okay, but in both accounts, the disciples did not recognize the Lord when they were in the storm. Like I said, as well as we do, they did not recognize him. Peter started looking at when he saw, he saw Jesus, but he started looking at the wind and the water and, just basically freaking out. And then he started sinking, his faith. Why? Because his eyes wasn't on Jesus. He lost focus. He started looking at everything else that was around, all the circumstances, and took his eyes off Jesus primarily. Okay. Now, with all that said, I'm going to tell you about a testimony of mine of when I was in my little storm and took my eyes off Jesus. And I'm going to tell you, I'm just be honest. You know me, you watch my other videos, you know I'm be honest. I took my eyes off Jesus, and I knew of Jesus, but I was not close in my faith walk, okay, with Jesus. So, but, let me just go ahead and begin to tell you, okay. Back in 2005, I had surgery, back in like October of 2005, and I had a cosmetic surgery, and I woke up 2 days after having the surgery. I woke up in a great amount of pain. Now, through the night, my husband had given me some pain medicine, and I was kind of really in pain, and he wanted to give me 2, and I was taking Meprogan. And he wanted to give me 2. Now, I'm in the medical field. I'm a nurse. I know better. No, you do not take 2 pills of anything. You only take what's prescribed, how it's prescribed. Remember that. Okay? But anyway, I was so in pain, and he gave me 2 pills. I threw the other one somewhere in the bed. And I had taken one. I hadn't been eating, and I think I had like some crackers, some water, and pretty much that's about it. But long story short, the next morning I woke up, it was about 8:39, and when I woke up, I turned over, this immense, intense pain just kind of like took over my body, okay? And the pain was so great. And I remember like feeling like this rush from like head to toe, like was flowing through my veins, okay? And that's the only way I can describe it. And my heart just automatically started pounding out of control. And I mean, it was pounding so hard and so fast that I could literally hear it. And I sat up in the bed and I tried not to freak out. So what I do, my husband is still asleep. So I reached over, trying not to freak out, to shake him and wake him up. He's not a morning person, guys. Would he wake up? No. He woke up simultaneously and said, "Ain't nothing wrong with you. Take some more pain medicine and go back to sleep." Because he was tired. He didn't want to be bothered. And, you know, just like, now I'm not saying my husband was Jesus, by no means. I'm not saying it. But I'm saying this kind of reminded me of that. I'm trying to wake him up. I'm in my storm. I am in my storm, okay? My heart is beating out of control. He's asleep, and I can't get him up. So with him acting all nonchalant, like he didn't care, oh my God. y'all, it made me go like in semi like panic mode. So like one side of my brain being in the medical field going, you gotta calm yourself down because you in tachycardia, meaning fast heart rate. Some of you probably know what that means, but for those of you who don't, mean fast pounding heart rate. And it was just out of control. And he made it worse. By saying, acting like he didn't care, it kind of made it worse. But the other side of my brain was like, okay, calm it down, sister, because you're going to be in trouble in a few minutes if you don't calm it down. So I kind of took a deep breath, and when I took a deep breath, it got worse. So I got out of the bed kind of slow, and I called out to my oldest child, my oldest daughter, and I told her to call 911, because when I stood up, my heart was beating so fast, it was making my head move automatically. It was just that fast, just that high. Yes, you talking about a storm? That was a storm, brothers and sisters. Yes, it was. Okay? So anyway, she called 911. I can hear the ambulance coming. Then my husband gets up. Okay, what's wrong with you? You really, really sick? I didn't want to deal with him at this point, okay? Because he would have just made it worse. So I went in the bathroom. I put some cold towels on my neck, on my arms, my wrist, trying to calm me down. But my heart rate is still like out of control. The EMTs finally knock on the door. They come in. And I go in my living room. I sit down and my head is still like, because my heart is like out of control, okay? So I'm sitting down on the sofa and they hook me up to all the monitors. They took my blood pressure. It's high, okay? My pulse, off the charts, high. My pulse rate was like 198, climbing 236, 240. When I saw it in the 230s, I couldn't look at it no more because it was like getting worse. Okay, and there were like three EMTs, okay? There was one with big pop eyes. That man, look, now if you're in the medical field, you know you don't do this. He looked at me and he said, oh, guys, he looking at the other EMTs. Oh, she's ticking. She's ticking like a bunny rabbit. Oh, look at it. It's just getting worse. Now, you don't tell somebody that's in the middle of some type of crisis. You don't do that. But that's what he did. And I looked at him and I said, could you please not do that? And he looked at me like, oh, yeah. So they was asking me questions. Did you take any medicines? I'm like, yeah, I just had surgery, blah, blah, blah. I took them up again. Did you take more than you had? You needed to? No, I did not. I'm in the medical field. I know better. No, I did not. And after they asked me that, they said, well, you want to go to the hospital? Do I want to go to the hospital? Yes, I want to go to the hospital. But there was one that was trying to talk me out of it, saying that it may calm down, you know. No, I think I need to go to the hospital. So long story short, they hooked me up, put me in the ambulance, get down the street. They had this guy. He was new. He told me he was new. He was trying to start my IV. Y'all, the poor thing had blood everywhere. I can give it. I can give needles, but I can't take it, okay? I wasn't crying like a baby. But my heart was so much out of control. I wasn't worried about this IV and this guy just making a tic-tac-toe mockery out of my right arm. That wasn't bothering me. What was going on with my heart was, okay, my surgery area was in intense pain. Okay, I was worried about that, I think, a little bit more. Well, maybe a little both, but probably a little more of that pain than I was. No, I was worried about my heart too. It was just really ridiculous, okay? So anyway, we get down the street. They pulled over on the side of the road, okay? They told me they had to give me adenosine. Now, adenosine is a medication that they put in your IV. They put it in the IV, and what it does is it slows your heart. It's supposed to slow your heart rate down, okay? But before they did all that, they was telling me, Nikki, what we want you to do is to press down like you're having a bowel movement. I look at them, I'm like, look, I'm not doing any pressing down. My heart is beating out of control. I need help. So they give me this adenosine, y'all. Tell you, if you ever been on a roller coaster and you was up very, very high, this is what it feels like. You're on a roller coaster and you up very, 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 very high, and somebody just drops you, and your head swells up and get tight. You feel like that because what's happening is it makes your heart kind of stop, kind of really like slow it down. And you feel your head like swell. It's the worst feeling in the world. Okay? It was horrible. They did that about 2 times. And all I can remember saying was, oh, man. Oh, man. I don't know why I was saying that, y'all. I don't know why I kept saying it. Oh, man. You would think I'd have been calling on Jesus. But I wasn't. I was in trouble. They done pulled the ambulance over on the side of the road in the middle of transporting me to the emergency room. They pulled it over. And I'm thinking in my head, oh, Lord, this is not good. They done pulled the ambulance over and stopped. And they trying to give me something. It wasn't good. But anyway, they stopped doing that. Still, I do not have this IV in my arm, okay? The guy stopped. They let somebody else do it. Finally, I get the IV in my arm. They rushed me on to the hospital. Y'all, my little heart, my little ticker was tick-tick-tocking still, out of control. They gave me that stupid adenosine twice to slow my heart rate down. It did not work, okay? I get in the ER. They gave it to me 4 more times. But before the 4th time, y'all, let me tell you what was going on. The little EMT, the new guy that started my IV, he was sick, throwing up, is what the little Popeye EMT told me. Yeah, he made it a point to come in there and say, you know what, the little EMT that was trying to start your IV, he's sick. He was watching you because you this is what he said, because you was in so much trouble. He went outside and he got sick and he was throwing up. And I just looked at him while my heart is still beating out of control. So they started to lay me back, look like to where so low to where my legs was high in the air and my head was below my heart. When I get finished with the story, you're going to find out why that wasn't a good thing. But, and my heart rate was getting worse. But before I knew it, there were a lot of nurses coming in there, doctors, EMTs, everybody standing around watching me. And I'm just going, oh, man. Oh, man. I don't know why I was saying that. In shock or something. But that's all I kept saying. And when I start, this one particular nurse, she was looking at me like, that looked like, oh, this ain't good. Y'all, you know. So I took my eyes off of her and they pumped me with that adenosine again. And of course I said, oh man, because it's the worst feeling in the world. I did not want to feel that anymore. And they were still watching the monitors to see what was going on. And I heard one of them say, it's just not going down. Her heart rate is still high, you know. So when they said that, y'all, up on the wall, up over the door, was Jesus on the cross. Okay? When I took my eyes off of everybody in the room looking at me, the doctors and the nurses and everything, what was going on, what they were saying, that little ounce of faith, when I locked eyes with Jesus on that cross, and it was like, I can hear the angels in heaven going, whoa, you know, and silently it was like, Jesus, help me, I'm in trouble. And when it happened, I heard another nurse said, okay, it's going down. Well, as soon as I saw Jesus on that cross, and I fixated my eyes on that and looked at it in this help, out of fear, help, I was in fear, help, despair, this calm of peace, tranquility came over me. And my heart rate started going down. And when that happened, now, I forgot to add, 3 weeks prior to that, I had just took my husband to the same emergency room because he had a bad virus. And he had to go to the hospital to get fluids, okay? And who walks in the door was a lab tech that I had met when he was in the ER 3 weeks prior. And when I saw her, my mind, after seeing the cross, and when she comes in, my mind just totally got off of everything. And I went, hey, I know you. And she was like, hey, I know you. Now, they didn't prepped her and told her everything, I can tell, because when she saw me, she said, you know, you too young for this. You too young for this. I don't know what you got going on that's got your heart beating out of control, but you need to, it's going to be all right. And, you know, she's talking to me so peaceful and so sweet. And, y'all, you know, it wasn't nobody but Jesus. Because I had my husband sitting over here to the left, and he wasn't saying anything. He was just sitting there with his hands crossed. But, y'all, that was scary. Now let me fast forward this to tell you what was really going on and why. Okay. They put me in the hospital. I had to be hospitalized. And they ran a lot of tests. They did EKGs. They did echocardiograms. And my mind is racing. CAT scans. They did everything, okay? Well, I was going to say something else, but I lost my train of thought. But anyway, long story short, after they did all the tests, a doctor came in the room, and he sat down. There was 2 doctors, y'all. There was a primary care physician, and there was a cardiologist. Who came and saw me first was cardiologist. And he sat down and he said, listen, a lot of people that come in like you did, they're passed out. Your heart rate was off the charts. He said, we never seen nothing like it. You came in here, you were awake the whole time. And a lot of people are passed out. You know, AFib, whatever, passed out. But you were awake. And he said, I don't know what you got going on in your life. I know you just had surgery. Are you stressed? No. You know, he's still on the heart vibe. He said, well, we did a lot of tests, and we're going to let you know, blah, blah, blah. But he said, it's a miracle. He said, you need to slow down and you know, take it easy. Like I said, I don't know what's going on, but you need to take care of yourself. You know, he basically gave me the coming to Jesus talk type thing, you know, put yourself first type message. That's what it was, okay? Now, about a couple hours later, the primary care physician comes in. And he said, well, we got the answer to your problem. Now, this whole time, I'm thinking it's my heart. We got the answer to your problem. And I said, what? And he said, you have Graves' disease. And I was like, what? And he said, you had a thyroid storm. Now, for those of you who don't know, let me give you a little medical review of what a thyroid storm is. In a thyroid storm is very, very dangerous. A thyroid storm will take you out of here. That's how blessed I was. It makes your pulse rate high. Your blood pressure can go high. Your body temperature can go high. It's like, basically, put it in natural form so you would understand. It's like pressing your foot on the gas. And the gas pedal is stuck. that's what happened to my system. Okay. My thyroid levels was off the chart, just out of control. Graves' disease, if you can look it up, but I'll tell you, Oprah Winfrey, Missy Elliott, what's her name? Diana Ross' daughter. She played on Girlfriends. I can't think of her name right now, but she got the big eyes. And a lot of people with Graves' disease, they have big bulging eyes. And so I was in a storm, you guys. I was definitely in a storm. And as bad as it was, looking at all the circumstances, just like the disciples was, just like Peter was, looking at all the circumstances, I took my eyes off Jesus. I was not focused. I knew of Jesus. Like I said, my walk at that time wasn't as close as it is right now. But had I locked in my faith and focused on Him, I probably wouldn't have went through that as bad as it was. But, when you go through things like that, what happens? It increases your faith, okay? And let me tell you how so. After I had that thyroid storm, I had to go and have what's called a thyroid ablation, where you have to take this pill and about 10 doctors stand around you while you take this one pill. This one pill is full of radiation, like iodine medicine, and it comes in a little silver box with skulls on it. Skulls and the little bones go across like that. As if the whole disease itself is not freaky enough. They have to watch you take that thing, and you drink water behind it. And I could not go home to my family. At that time, I had like a 15-month-old baby. And I had to stay in a hotel. When I used the bathroom, I had to flush the toilet 3 times. If I brushed my teeth, I had to constantly run the water for over 5 minutes. I had to eat off silverware. In the hotel I was staying in, I had to order room service, order plasticware. I couldn't be on the elevator with people because it was just that much radiation in my body. Yeah, scary, huh? So, fast forwarding again. 3 months after that, after you have that, you either lose a lot of weight at one time or you swell up. Of course, I swole up. Face got all fat, looked like I was on steroids. What we call in the medical field, looked like I had cushionic changes where your face, you get the moon pie face. And my face was round and fat, and my eyes were puffy and draining, but after being on the thyroid medicine, the Synthroid, it was a medicine I have to take once a day for the rest of my entire life. And my supervisor at the time gave me a book on thyroid disease because she indeed had the same thing. And it's Graves' disease, which means my thyroid was overactive, okay? And I read the book. And it talked about things and changes that can happen with your eyes. And some months later, I remember laying on the couch and it felt like my eyes felt gritty. And this one eye was just draining and draining and draining. I'm like, what is up with my eye? And then they look real, real red. And then 2 days later, y'all, my little Graves' disease got a little gravely worse, okay? I figured out real fast what was going on with my eye because she gave me a book, and the book said that you could, after some people, when they have Graves' disease, starting out, I was very, very blessed. I didn't get the eye involvement, but after I was treated, because I wasn't treated with steroids in conjunction, I ended up with what's called TED's disease, thyroid eye disease, okay? That's where your eye, both eyes either bulge. You ever see people walk around with their eyes all big and bulged? 9 times out of 10, they have thyroid eye disease, okay? But sometimes you can only have one eye to bulge and the other one not. So I was the one who had one eye to bulge and the other one not. And I went to the doctor, and at the time I didn't have insurance, and I asked him what, I knew what was wrong with my eye. He told me it was allergy. So I'm like, no, sir. He's like, well, you kind of sound stopped up right now. I am not. I have a little deep voice, but I am not stopped up. Sometimes you have to play doctor and you do your own investigation. But I'm in the medical field. Not to mention, I read that book and every symptom I had. And you know what he told me? He said, well, if both your eyes start looking like Garfield, come back and see us. Really? Who want to walk around looking like Garfield? And he said, come back and see him. No, wasn't doing it. So what I did, I went and got some insurance, and I got in with a doctor, one of the greatest specialists here in my town. And when I saw that doctor, I said, look, because let me tell you what was going on. Let me show you how it looked. And I want you guys to look it up. This particular eye right here was the good morning eye, and this eye was the good night eye. And let me show you what I'm talking about. This eye was like bulge, like really, really big. And then you had this eye just really, really small. It's the freakiest thing you ever want to see. But when I looked online at pictures of people who had it, some people had both eyes. Some people had the problem that I had, which is one. And what happens is the thyroid disease, you get inflammation behind the eyeball itself and the muscles and the tendons and all that. And inflammation sets up and it kind of swells. That's what makes the eyeball push out. And it bulges. And when it bulges, the eyelid itself raises to where it looks like one eye is staring. When you look at people with these bulged eyes, they look like they're staring, which is called ptosis. Well, one eye was like kind of like lazy, and this eye was like raised where it looked like I was staring out of one eye. And for a while, my husband and I, we joke on each other. We talk about each other all the time. That's just something we do. But I've always been the type of person that's not easily embarrassed, but he would make a lot of jokes, And thank God I was that type of person, because as ugly as some of the things he said, it kept me kind of uplifted until I started going out to the grocery stores and stuff, and there were little kids. And Mama, what is wrong with her eye? Kids they say the darndest things. They're going to just say it. And it had got so bad and started looking so freaky, and I wasn't looking like myself. It's really bad when you look at yourself one day and you're yourself, and then the next day you're looking in the mirror and this person is not you. And like I said, if you look on YouTube or Google it, and you see some people with this stuff, you see their before pictures, and you look and you go like, wow, that's a totally different person. Even now, looking at myself in the mirror, I still do not look exactly like I used to look back then, but it is so much better. But anyway, I went to the doctor, and I remember telling him, look, I don't care if you mix flies, cornflakes, and cow manure. Fix my eye. And he laughed it off, but with prayer and supplication, because I remember watching one day, It's Supernatural, and there was a lady on there that had got bitten by her dog. Somehow he attacked her, and he bit her lip and just kind of like split it in half, and it was really, really bad. I mean, to the point where she had to have like 10 different surgeries, okay? And just basically bit her all this was gone. And she was saying how she activated her faith. we walk by faith and not by sight, and faith without works is dead. And she was saying how, when she looked in a mirror, just like me, she did not look like herself. And she would put up her old pictures and look at them and say, just kept saying, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And she kept also, there's scripture that says we speak life and death, and she started speaking life over that herself and over the picture, saying, my lip will look like that again one day. And even though what she saw, remember what we talked about the storm, she wasn't looking at all that. Looking in the mirror, looking at her lip, what looked bad, she wasn't looking at that. She was keeping her focus on Jesus and looking at what she used to look like and knowing that she was going to one day go back to that. So, things happen for a reason. There was a reason why I watched that, because let me tell you, later, my eye doctor wanted to do surgery on my eye because this one eye was lifted and they wanted to cut it and drop it and make it like this and that. And I told him, no. And, because there was like almost a year I went without wearing makeup, okay? Because if I put makeup on my eyes, on my eyelids, it got worse. So it was a while. So I started telling myself, I'm going to get better. I'm not going to continue to look like this. I'm going to start back wearing my makeup. And I'm going to start doing this as if nothing ever happened. And I did that, you guys. And I had to go back for a follow-up visit. They had already called my insurance, got the surgery approved anyway, and was saying, come on, let us do the surgery. But by the time I got back in that doctor's office, he said, wow, your eye does look much better, but we could still do the surgery, and it's still a little high, and we can do the surgery, and, stitch it up, and you can come back. And I was like, no, I believe in a higher power. Not saying that what you won't do won't work, but I don't want any surgery on my eye, and I think it looks fine. I'm wearing makeup again now, and I'm happy. He was like, okay. So, with all that said, you guys, when you are in your storm, remember, keep your focus on Jesus. Just like me, I was healed by Jesus, okay? And that lady was healed. By the way, her lip went back to looking natural, like nothing ever happened. The same can be for you. Just remember, when you're in your storm, keep your focus on Jesus. And remember that he's always there, even in our fears. Activate your faith and believe in him, because Jesus loves you and Jesus wants you. I'm sorry this video got to be this long. But if you're not saved, please give your life to Christ. Tomorrow is Sunday. If you know somebody, you can go to church. Go to church. Get saved. Time is short. Jesus loves you. He's still in the healing business. Believe that. And remember, Jesus wants you. And I love you guys. See you in my next video. Thanks.